So it's day 13 of my fasting, my lucky number. I've gone 22 hours, pretty much just having a meal. So it's not actually probably more than, I'm counting it as if there's an hour slot when I eat, but in actual fact I just eat a meal and that's it. And drinking water after that and all different types of green teas and herbal teas and things like that. So I tend to have the fruit for starters because I'm too full because I've been fasting. I can barely manage to eat my whole meal. It makes me feel very bloated for obvious reasons. So that's what I want to cover on the side of the fasting. I'm sure it's good to know how many hours I'm doing, I suppose, if you're following it. But one of the main subjects I want to cover today is sleep. Because so many of us have problems sleeping, and I've cracked it. I still get the odd bad night. But it's only when I don't follow the protocol that I've set out for myself. So I'm going to take you through, and after last night's video being 1 hour 1 minute, I want to keep this one very, very sort of short, but I must cover sleep in as quick as I can. Now, I would say I'll tell you all the things that I changed, and I know definitely made 100% improvement. And I mean, I'm talking. I was getting between 3 and 4 hours sleep a night, and that was broken. I felt ill. You know that horrible ill feeling you feel when you wake up in the morning and you just, when you haven't had any sleep or you've been woken up with panic attacks, anxiety, and all that sort of stuff. That was me. That was me. You wake up 2-3 o'clock in the morning and instantly in your mind you go, what was it I had to worry about? What was it that's gone wrong? It could be deaths or in the family or financial issues or whatever, and then suddenly that wave hits you and you feel it go down through your whole body and the life just drains from you. It's like a massive energy transfer. And I found ways of dealing with that. One of the ways I dealt with it was changing my attitude towards life and expectations. That I will cover another day because I want to keep this one quite short and sweet. But the other side of it was the things I did within my home. So some of the things that cost nothing actually save money. And other things, it's just a matter of changing a few things in your life. So I'll tell you exactly what I did to be able to get a really sound night's sleep and fall asleep within minutes of my head hitting the pillow. Which is like, I used to be, when I seen my wife used to, as soon as her head hit the pillow, she was literally snoring within 3 breaths. And I thought, how does she do that? I spent years looking at her thinking, how does she do that? And I could be awake for another 2-3 hours or even get back up again. And I couldn't understand it. So the things that I do, so my routine is, I don't go to bed until I actually feel sleepy. I do nothing in terms of mental or physical work after 9 o'clock. At the very latest, it's nice to finish by 8, but 9 o'clock you want to be switching right off, sitting down in your armchair, showered and changed, and feeling all clean and relaxed. So that's number one. You don't want to be concentrating on anything after 9. Because you need at least 2 hours to wind down. Now, the second thing I did is I would make sure that I had my magnesium, the magnesium oil. So the oil that I've shown you back in previous videos, the magnesium oil I got from, that one from Ancient Purity, but there's lots of places that do the magnesium. There is many different types, many different forms and strengths and everything. But, that's the one that works for me. And I put that in my entire back, all over the back and over the back of my neck, because there's so many muscles down in your back, and when you get stressed and you grind your teeth, is the first thing to pull is your neck muscles, and that travels all the way down through all the muscles in your back until eventually you've got real chronic back problems, and that's all due to stress. But having magnesium every day rubbed into your entire back, remember it really itches when you're deficient. It really itches. And you need to persevere with it and keep doing it, and eventually it will not itch anymore. You will put it on and it will just soak in. And I always do it just after a shower. literally within half an hour after I've got out of the shower, because you know, I'm not gonna. It's the longest period it's going to be on my skin for, and it gives it a chance to soak in before you go to bed. You don't want to do it just before bed; 'cause you'll be sticking to all the sheets. But it really dries out if you do it just after your shower. So that's that. Very important, that one. Very important. The third thing I did was I changed my bedding. So instead of having this cotton bedding, I actually went for flannelette. You know, it's becoming quite readily available. At the time when I turned to flannelette, there wasn't many styles or anything available, but I still had to get it. And all I could describe about flannelette bedding, it's like being hugged by your favorite blanket. You know, the blanket you may put over yourself, or even if you had a comfort toy or something when you were younger, when you were a child. It's like wrapping yourself in that, and it feels fantastic. So that was another one, because you feel really cozy when you get into bed. It's also soft on you instead of being itchy or horrible or coarse or anything else. Another thing I did was I switched my, actually everybody has no heating upstairs, but we switched all the radiators off by the thermostatic radiator valves. We switched them all right off, so there was no heat coming in whatsoever into any of the bedrooms, because bedrooms are warm enough, the quilt's warm enough to lie underneath. One of the worst things is to have a hot bedroom. It's nothing worse, nothing worse. So, you know, all heating must go off. And obviously it's not very good for you anyway, breathing in the radiation you get from that hot steel is different. It's different than what we're used to in history. There's many different forms of radiated heat. The most relaxing one is obviously burning wood. But, you know, heating water up with gas, pumping it through steel radiators, and that radiated heat, personally, it gives me a runny nose. It can bring on a cold, a cough, you know, all sorts of things when it's switched on. So yeah, that's got to end. You know, switch it off upstairs, totally, the whole way, everything. The heat will find its way upstairs. You won't freeze to death. And if anything, you're best to get in bed. You know, here in the UK, I'm talking about mainly, but obviously, if you're in America, Central America, then you're pretty much, or down in Florida, then things are slightly different, because you're going to have your aircon on and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's very, very important to have it the right temperature in the bedroom, so when you get into the sheets, you actually feel a chill. You feel chilly, and you wonder if you're going to warm up or no. That's about the right temperature to get into bed. So that covers all that. So we've covered what's touching your skin. I don't wear any clothes. I've always slept naked ever since I was born. So there's nothing to twist up on you. There's nothing to, you know, boil up in or whatever. Just you and the flannelette bedding. So we've covered that. So that's, you know, that's what you're actually let in. Then you've got the atmosphere that you're actually let in. Then you've got your nutrients, as in the magnesium, which relaxes your body down. There's many different ways to do the magnesium. You can also do it by crystals. So you can get magnesium crystals, put them in a bath. Some people I know actually soak their feet in it. So they put the magnesium crystals in a bowl or a foot spa in warm water and just sit there with their feet in it. It goes into the sole of their feet and really relaxes them down. That's another great way. So we've covered the air, what's touching you, and the nutrients in your skin. And the next thing is noises, because a lot of us wake up because we hear conversations outside in the street. Where we are, or we might hear noises, strange noises, bangs in cars driving about, and this will wake us up during the night. And sometimes it's really difficult to get back to sleep. Not when you're really up to date on your magnesium, though. You just fall back to sleep. But what I do for this, it started out that I would have a TV in the bedroom, and I would put on a film, and it would be a film that I've watched loads of times and I really love, but it would be on quite a low volume, so I could hear it. I wasn't struggling to hear it. I wasn't trying to listen out to hear it, but I could hear it, because remember, it gets really loud in the night when you wake up. But I would press play on that film every night as just at the point I was getting into bed, and that would obviously play out for an hour and a half. And if I woke up during the night, I could actually press play again and then I would be sent back to sleep with the same thing, because there's something about preoccupying your mind, especially when you've got a lot of stress on your mind. There's something about preoccupying your mind with thinking, because you've got your eyes shut. You're not watching the film. Because you've already seen it, you don't feel the urge to observe it with your eyes. You're just listening to it, and you're picturing what's going on in your mind. In that film, you're picturing what's happening as you're hearing all the voices speaking and that. And a personal favourite of mine was Robert Newton's Treasure Island, the very first movie they did on Treasure Island, #1, back in the 1950s. Because that one's quite calming. You know, old films don't tend to be bullets and, you know, jumping scenes and loud bangs and all these gory noises and all the rubbish you get nowadays. You know, old films tend to be more so music. The music in the background would be, you know, brass band sort of themed, and everything would be spoken softly, you know. So that's a good thing to do. That also gives you an indicator of when you fall asleep, because when you wake back up again, you don't actually you think, when was the last thing I remembered on that film? What was the last thing I remembered before I went to sleep? And you can judge then how many minutes it took you to go to sleep. And what this does, it drowns out the outside noise. Because at the end of the day, you can't spend your whole life worrying if your car is going to be broken into, or your garage, or anything like that, or anything you've got outside. At some point, you have to switch off and have a good night's sleep. And you know, when you do this and you put these films on, it just takes your imagination away into another realm, into that film, and then you just relax down, because you can't hear anything else. You can't hear anything else at all. Now, another thing you can do, if you don't like the brightness of the screen, obviously I wouldn't recommend putting some sort of blanket over the telly, because it might overheat with the vents on the back, but you can certainly try and cover the screen, or even turn the telly around, sounds silly, or get it on audio, audible version, and just have the music playing to that film. And that takes me on to another thing. I get audiobooks, and some of these audiobooks, and they're mainly like, you know, anything, whatever you're into, stories, or whether you're into sort of self-help stuff or anything else, you can get some of these audiobooks are 14 hours long, you know, 10 hours long. And if you find one of these is spoken really gently, and it's a nice soft story, there's no sudden sort of shouting in it, you know, or anything like that, then you can press play on that, and that plays all night. You don't have to touch it. And also, it's not the brightness of it's not keeping you awake with the brightness. You can literally put a device down by the side of your bed and press play, and that's that. And even when you wake up in the night, you just listen to it. Because you're instantly waking up and listening to that audio book or the film or whatever you wake up to, you're instantly taken back away, because you're distracted from what's actually going on in your life. You don't give a damn at that point, you know. You're just falling back to sleep. So yeah, that's the end of the video for today. But try these things. Try them. They're well worth a try. It certainly worked for me. I went from 3 to 4 hours broken sleep to a good 8 hours every single night. It's 7 hours, you know. It's all good. And anything over 7.5 hours is excellent. Especially when you're coming from a place of only a few hours. And you tend to fall into a deeper sleep with all this, which is obviously needed. You need to go into REM sleep, and actually shut down. You know, you don't want to be just faintly in and out of sleep, like the likes of sleep apnea does. It keeps waking you up, even though you don't open your eyes and you don't remember it. You keep waking yourself up. You don't get a chance to get into that REM sleep. So yeah, you know, if you're struggling, it's worth a go. It's worth a go. Some things obviously are a lot easier to do, like temperature of your room and things like that. It's quite easy to do straight away. But let me know how you get on anyway. Bye.